Hello and welcome to Dungeon Stories, everybody. It has been a while, hasn't it? One thing that you might notice that's different is that you can see us. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube with video, you might notice that this is a much smaller group than we had last time in Season 1. We have here in Season 2 of Dungeon Stories, we are coming with a brand new cast, brand new characters, brand new story, and you might notice from this map here behind us, a brand new world as well. So yes, this is Season 2 of Dungeon Stories. We are so glad to be back. Cannot wait to dive in and show you this new world that we have, these new characters. Great friends of mine here. So here at Dungeon Stories, we like to start off by saying thank you to a few of our friends. And currently, as of episode 1 of season 2, we have one friend that we would like to say thank you to. Well, two. We'd like to say thanks to Roll20 for letting us play D&D while not being in the same room together, because that's pretty cool. And then, of course, as always, just like in season 1, we would like to say thank you to D&D Beyond. That is where we have all of our character sheets. That is where I will be running encounters from. That is kind of the backbone of how we play D&D now. So thank you to Roll20, thank you to D&D Beyond for letting us use your services to play our game and deliver our game to the people. Now, it has been a while, so I feel like we should introduce ourselves, especially since we have a brand new cast here on Dungeon Stories for Season 2. I, as always, am your Dungeon Master, Norrin. I have been playing D&D for a while. Previously DM'd Season 1 of Dungeon Stories. So I have quite a bit of experience. I've been playing since freshman year of high school, which was 2014, I believe, right, Michael? That's when we started high school? Yes, 2014.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, sounds right. Someone will do the math. Well, no, probably not. But, so that's my experience. I've been playing since 2014. Michael and I kind of taught ourselves and each other how to play with the help of my dad, and we have been kind of playing together ever since. So that is my history with the game. Michael and I would take turns DMing. I feel like I'm kind of stepping on Michael's toes with his history with the game because our history is each other's history with the game. But we took turns DMing and playing for one another. And I have primarily DM'd since then. I do get lucky to jump into a game as a player every now and then. But that's my experience with the game. Easton, we'll go to you next. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your history with D&D.
Well, my name is Easton. I've been playing D&D since 2018, so I'm still fairly new to the art of D&D. But I've been loving it ever since. Every campaign has been a new learning experience, and I feel like it's all cultivated to this. So I'm ready. Give me your all, Norrin.
Right on, man. Thank you, Easton. Jenny, we will throw it to you next. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your history with the game.
Well, my name is Jenny Ruiz, and I am actually fairly new to the game. I just started this last fall, 2020, thanks to Norrin. I had the opportunity to be a roommate with his, and I jumped into one of his campaigns, and I've loved the game ever since. So here's another campaign ready to go.
All right, and Michael, that leaves you. Go ahead and introduce yourself and retell the same story that I told.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, my name is Michael. And Norrin honestly should have a belt that he just takes notches in it for how many people he introduces to D&D. But if he did, I would be the very first notch. I was likely the first person that Norrin introduced to D&D, and we kind of started that together, and we loved it right away. It was just a great way where we can create a whole world together, create characters, create gods. We loved it. And we still love it now. We've been playing for years, and it's great that we get to play together even though we have all this distance between us. So I'm excited to try out this new world.
Yeah, great. All right. So now let me give you guys a little bit of introduction to the world. This will be, well, everyone's first time stepping into it. This world is an idea that I've had for a while. It has been kind of brewing in my head, and I have finally gotten around to fleshing it out, designing it, and of course preparing a game for us to play in it. So this is the world of Thakos, and here on Thakos, it is a high fantasy world. Most people have at least a little bit of magic here in this place. Most citizens of Thakos can cast at least a few cantrips, and that is because Thakos is a world heavily based in mythology. It is a world heavily influenced by its pantheon of gods, and so most people are devout, and that has given most people access to divine magic that allows them to cast various spells. The reason that the people of Thakos are so devout is because the gods of Thakos live on Thakos with them. The gods of Thakos are mortal when they live for, they have a kind of a set lifespan, and when they have a child, they pass on their godly powers to their child. So if you are the god of the sun, your first child will be the next god of the sun. A child's godly powers grow as they get older, so that way, their parent remains the ruling god until they pass away. The kid's powers slowly develop as they take the place of their parent, and so that's how it's been for a while. Um, with the passing of time comes new generations of gods. Currently, we are in the let me pull up another doc here. We are in the year 1352, and we are on the fourth generation of gods. So from the first god, we are now four generations into this cycle. And the gods each rule a country in Thakos. A couple of the countries are ruled by a pair of gods working together to rule it. Other countries are ruled by just one. And each country kind of handles that differently, which you'll see as we start to explore this place. But certain countries have restrictions on which gods you can worship. Some require you to worship them as the ruler. Others are a little freer about it, and they won't penalize you if you decide to choose one of the other gods as your primary deity of worship. So it kind of depends on your location where you end up. And as you can see on this map here, we have our characters are from kind of all over. And so they will all be coming together as the story progresses here. Important thing to note is about 600 years ago or so, the gods made an agreement with one another that they would each only have one kid, because when a god has their first kid, they pass on their god powers. So the god of sun, their first kid, becomes the next god of sun. But if a god has a second child, the second child will develop their own domain, their own divine domain. And that is how you get gods of minor domains, things like the god of luck, or the god of the culinary arts. So these kind of minor domains that aren't controlled, but there are 11 prime domains. The additional kids become the gods of the minor domains. And so that is kind of how that pantheon builds out. The gods a while ago thought there were too many gods, so there was this big war, and that led to them forming an agreement that they would each only have one kid, so they would pass on the prime domain and not create any more minor domains. Of course, being gods, they kind of feel a little entitled to kind of do whatever they want, and so some of them have ignored this rule, and gods of minor domains are still around. Most of them are kind of secret. Most of them are in hiding because they're not supposed to be here. So that's kind of the structure of things in this world. That is how things work. That's the basic gist. So now let's go ahead and dive into the game. We have heard enough of me talking, so I will start talking some more. But this time, it will be playing the game. So, Aaron, 3.5 weeks ago, you are walking through the cold, damp air of the Garzool Tunnel. The Garzool Tunnel is a tunnel cutting through the Archon Scar, a mountain range right about here that separates the country of Yathene from the country of Fengor. It is a kind of a big divide mountain range right about here. There's a tunnel creating a path through it, the Garzool Tunnel. You are walking through. Drops of water echo as they fall off of the stalactites and plink into puddles on the ground. The air is cool and damp. You're up high in the mountains, and you are walking through here. Next to you is a tiefling wizard with gray skin, long white hair, and glowing blue eyes. He has horns that stick straight up, probably about 8 inches off of his head. His name is Kelthin, and Kelthin is a wizard who he has a little bit of a higher standing than you in your order, but the two of you are looking for something. You are looking for an old book, an artifact known to you as the Codex. You're not sure exactly what this book contains, but that's sort of the nature of your order. You don't have all of the info at all times. But you are looking for a book known to you as the Codex. The two of you are sort of working together on this. As you're walking through the tunnel, Kelthin looks at you and he says, "According to my sources, our quarry resides somewhere past these mountains. I have 2 leads. The first points toward an archaeologist in the town of Rubbleton. He goes by the name of Kosk. That is a lead that I would like you to follow. Make your way to Rubbleton, see if you can find Kosk, and report back to me. I'll follow the second lead. I'll be heading north of Rubbleton to the town of Sojourn in western Yathene. If you encounter any trouble or anything promising, contact me using this." He digs around in his pack. He pulls out a stone carving of a snake curled into a figure 8, made of dark colored gemstone. He places it into your hand, and he says, "Does that sound agreeable?"
Yes. I will report if I find anything, and I hope that you will do the same. I wish you luck.
Yes, and I you. So a few hours pass by. The two of you reach the end of the Garzool Tunnel. And as you emerge from this stone path carved straight through the heart of the mountains, a staggering view is revealed to you. You emerge onto a cliff in the western edge of the Archon Scar, right about here. And from where you are, elevated hundreds of miles, you see the continent of Voreos sprawling in front of you. You see a picturesque tableau of green rolling hills, flowing rivers, and snow-capped mountains. To your right, as you're standing looking out westward, to the north of you, you see a jagged stone path illustrating the hike required to descend the mountains down to the grassy woodlands below. The two of you, Kelthin and yourself, begin down this path. You are hundreds of miles up in the air right now on this cliff. You have to begin this winding. Think like the stone steps up to High Hrothgar in Skyrim. That kind of winding stone path. It's kind of like that. This path is one that has been sort of manufactured because people travel it often to cross the mountains. So it is. They've done their best to clear it of danger. Of course, a steep, narrow mountain path can only be made so safe. It has an inherent danger to it. But you begin the path winding down, and your journey across the land begins. This takes days, even weeks, of you traveling across the ancient expanse, which is what the name of these rolling hills are, because they are littered with ruins and old abandoned temples and monuments from times long past, 1,000+ years ago, of history here. And this place is just riddled with old buildings and ruins and monuments, standing stones in random places around you. And you, being who you are, your history, you have. This is all very fascinating to you as you walk by and see it all. There's so many times where you almost wish that you weren't on a mission so that you could go off and explore, but you've been given a task, you've been given a destination, so you are making your way to Rubbleton. You and Kelton travel together for a while because for now you're headed in the same direction. You take turns on watch shifts when you camp for the night. There are a few instances where you have to help Kelton fend off hungry beasts or bandits along the road. But after a while you reach the village of Cobble, where Kelton parts ways with you and heads north towards Sojourn. Your journey continues to take you west towards Rubbleton. You follow the somewhat unkempt road westward, and after a few more days of travel, Rubbleton comes into view. For miles outside of the city, farms surround it on all sides, and as you draw near, the road takes you directly by a few of these farms. You see halflings, humans, and elves hard at work tilling their small fields. And as you walk by, a stranger into town, a traveler, a few of them, you naturally, you catch their gaze. And most of them turn away and continue their work. But a few of them, they allow their glances, or glares rather, to linger. They look a little unhappy to see a stranger making their way into town. But you continue on past the farms, and you manage to find your way into town. Rubbleton consists of cobblestone streets and buildings constructed of stone and wood. This town, Rubbleton, was, because the ancient expanse is full of ruins and relics, people often came here to begin expeditions of their own, looking for ancient secrets or trying to uncover the history. So this town was originally a staging ground for these expeditions. People would gather to start their journeys here. As the field of exploration like this became more and more popular, it began to grow into the city that it is today. This is probably maybe the third largest city in the country of Fengor. But you make your way into town, cobblestone all around. It is about 2, maybe 3 p.m. here. And you are looking for Kosk. Okay. There are a few people around. People making their way from work. Maybe they just got done with lunch and they're heading back to continue working. Maybe they're out shopping. But there are a number of people around, and there are a number of guards. These guards would be paladins, or paladins of Stelnos, who is the goddess of the moon and the stars. She is the one in charge of this, or rather the deity of moon and stars in the night. They are the deity of the moon, stars in the night, and they are the one in charge of Fengor. So Stelnos, and these are paladins who worship Stelnos. Are the guards here. So there are these paladin guards. There are townsfolk walking around. where do you start? What's your...
Yeah, so I probably would go to a tavern. That's probably the first place that I would look for. Just kind of a central hub where people gather, maybe even a market. If I see a market along the way, I'll stop.
Okay, yeah, great. Here in Rubbleton, there is a Tavern and Inn. It's very popular here. There are a few, but this is kind of the main one. If you ask around, you get the sense that the people here aren't super friendly when you ask them. Most of them kind of act like you're bothering them a little bit. But you do get pointed in the direction of the Rubble Rouser, which is the Tavern and Inn here in Rubbleton. As you open up the door, the Rubble Rouser is fairly populated at the moment. People are either just getting off work or just finishing up, their breaks at this kind of later point in the day, and getting ready to head back to work. But there is a fair number of people in here, probably 22 individuals here. And there's a very busy dwarven woman behind the bar. As you walk in, people kind of turn their heads. They realize they don't recognize you. You're a traveler. Clearly from your garb, you have travel cloak on. People can tell you're a traveler. Immediately sort of grumbles and looks away, and people don't pay you much mind.
Okay. Yeah, if the dwarven lady at the bar, I'll walk up to her likely. I'll wait until she's a little bit less busy if I can help it, but I will walk up to the bar and just ask her, "Hello, do you have a moment to talk with me? I just have some quick questions, and there may be some coin in it for yourself."
Okay, she looks up at you. She's kind of tall for a dwarf. She's almost a full 5 feet tall, and she has long blonde hair pulled into like a tight, kind of like a honeybee, a beehive situation. She has a little bit of sideburns that come down, almost connecting at her chin. So it's like almost a chin strap, but it just breaks in the center there. And she looks up at you and she says, "What is it? What is it you need? What can I help you with?"
I simply need information now. I'm looking for a Kosk. That should be his name, Kosk. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. He's from around here. Though we haven't seen him in a while.
Has he disappeared? Or is this normal?
Far from normal, I would say. You see, disappeared he might have. In fact, spirits are rather gloomy around here as of late. Because people have started disappearing. Mainly children, it seems, have been disappearing. Ages, just young folk. Has the people here in quite a tizzy, and they're rather, it's putting moods in a foul state. We haven't seen Kosk in a while. He's an odd one, so it may not be connected, but when half the town's children go missing, I don't know. His disappearance seems less like a coincidence to me than some might make it out to be.
Half the town's children, that is quite a sizable number. What evidence do you have? Is there any evidence? Do they disappear in the night?
These worthless fucks we have calling themselves guards have been no help in the matter. They say they haven't found much of any evidence around. I'm not sure if they've worked hard at all trying to find any, but they haven't been able to provide us with much. But it does seem in the midst of the night, parents tuck their children in and wake in the morning to find empty beds and covers tossed to the other end of the room. Luckily, my own children are grown, so they don't seem to be in any danger, but folks around here, it's got everyone in an uproar, pointing fingers at one another.
That is fair. Speaking of others, did Kosk have any family or, a close friend maybe?
No.
Or is he quite the stranger, as you mentioned?
Kosk is odd. And I'm not sure if he prefers to keep to himself or if people prefer to keep away from him. But, he's a nice enough fellow. He's friendly. But he's an odd one.
Yeah. Could you direct me in his place of residence? Of course, I will hope to be back this evening to spend the night as well. So I think a room would be in order. But for now, if you could direct me into where he would stay, his home, I'll try and see if I can find anything.
Yes, he lived outside of the town walls. There's an old, if you head west out of town, there's an old farmhouse that fell into a little bit of disrepair when the family owning it left. He took up residence in there. You won't miss it. It's in far worse shape than any of the other buildings out that direction around those farms out there.
Okay, well, thank you. I will put down 5 silver on the counter. I think that's plenty.
She says, yes. Big tipper, I see. Thank you. Appreciate that. We don't get much of that around here these days. This will get you a room for a few nights.
Okay, hold that room and prepare some food. I'll likely be hungry when I've returned. So, and with that, I will walk out the door and make my way towards that farm.
Okay. Revelton is not super big. It's a decent sized city. So it takes you a little bit of time to walk out there, and then you follow the west road out of town for a little ways. Again, walking by, there's a number of farms kind of set almost right next to each other out here, and people are hard at work, and it's kind of the same thing where people kind of look and kind of glare a little bit, or some of them just act like they don't see you at all. But you make your way out, and you see a rather run-down place. It looks to be less of a farmhouse and more of a shed that once belonged to a farm. It's got like 2 of its windows are broken. Its roof is kind of sagging. Like there's not a hole in the roof. It doesn't look totally decrepit. It just looks a little beat up and worn. But compared to the other farmhouses you've seen that are rather well kept around this area, this one kind of stands out, and so you get the feeling this is probably the one that she was referring to.
Okay, yeah, then I will first take a look around, make sure that it looks safe. But then I will start getting a little closer, try looking around, see if I can maybe find a journal, some notes, anything that was left behind.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like an investigation check to me. So please go ahead and roll that.
Here we go. First roll.
For anyone who's watching, we are not using the Roll20 built-in dice. You guys can if you want, but I'm not going to make you. You can roll real dice if you have them next to you, or roll in D&D Beyond. Do whatever you want. I trust you.
Okay. Well, I just did D&D Beyond, so
that works fine.
That, I believe, comes to a 22.
22, solid. Okay. So as you are walking around this, you definitely get the feeling as you walk in, there doesn't seem to be any immediate danger around you. You don't get any sense of that. The door is unlocked. In fact, when you walk up to it, it's sort of cracked a little bit, kind of swaying on its hinges a bit. So you push in slowly, and the place is just dark. There's light kind of streaming in from the broken windows, catching on the shards of glass and kind of making these speckles across the floor. You can see the dust in those places kind of floating in those streams of light. And you walk in, and this place is clearly the residence of a researcher of some kind. This is a familiar sight to you. In fact, maybe your own personal quarters back home in Yathene, maybe they look like this as well, where there are papers scattered all over. There are notebooks piled on top of one another, sketches of the ruins that are around, or the standing stones. You definitely, if you are here looking for an ancient artifact, you get the sense that this would be a person you would want to talk to. As you look around, kind of peering over some of the notes, none of them seem to be immediately relevant to you. They're talking about some of the large standing stones that are arranged in circles. He's trying to deduce if they have anything to do with the moon or anything like that. So nothing around here seems immediately relevant. What is interesting and stands out to you with the roll of a 22 on that, a really solid investigation check. Oh, I guess I should probably say this for our listeners. We're level 1. I didn't state that. We're level 1 right now. So 22 is super, super good. You see a really strange sight, kind of in the corner of this place. A couple of the papers over there, there's a little bit of dried blood on the papers. And you notice it along the baseboards of the wall. They look almost like scratches, almost like claw marks along the baseboards. Just in a couple places, easy to miss for someone not paying as close attention as you are. And buried under a stack of papers over there, you see a hand cut off at a little bit above the wrist here. That's gray and mottled and has like long claws on it.
Yeah, I go over and I will first kick at it with my boot. And if it doesn't move, then I will inspect it.
Okay, it does not move. You bend down and you pick it up, and you notice that on the back of it, kind of up the so it cuts off about here, just a little bit below the wrist. So kind of up here on what is there of the forearm there, there looks to be a little bit of injury from a spell of some kind, like a firebolt or something, some kind of magic scarring here. And it looks like this hand is... I was going to say it looked like the hand has been damaged. Obviously it has. It's severed off. But what I mean is, outside of being cut off, it looks like the hand itself has received a blow of some kind. It looks like the hand... in some capacity was involved in a tussle here.
Okay, yeah, if I don't recognize what creature maybe this hand goes to, I will put
Humanoid,
it in my
as best you
backpack.
can tell.
What was that?
Some kind of humanoid, as best you can tell. It's
Okay.
got 5 fingers. It's roughly the size of yours, maybe a little bigger.
Okay, well, I will pocket that, and I, just to double check, I will, while I'm sitting there, ritual cast detect magic.
Okay.
Kind of sit down, maybe make some markings in the ground around me, and see if I can sense any magic around me.
Okay, so you take the 10 minutes, marking out your sigils, illuminating, your eyes flash and they begin to glow blue as the world around you takes on this blue hue. You're looking for the glows that mark the magic. You get the sense that this place at one point was full of magic. So you feel that Kosk, assuming that he is the source of most of the magic around here, you get the sense he's been gone for a while now, at least a week or two maybe, because the magic that you get the sense usually fills this place has faded quite substantially. And I would say your hand maybe glows faintly with the faded aura of necromancy, but barely a hint of it.
Okay. That's good to know. Then if I've taken note of everything within here that I can see, I will try to, mentally keep this scene sound in my mind. And then I will go back to the inn.
Okay.
I'll go back to the inn just with the knowledge that I have, and hopefully tomorrow I'll see if I can identify where this hand came from, just to know a little bit more information. Perhaps while I'm in my own room at the inn, I'll cast Identify specifically on the hand to see if there's anything, but I'm expecting I won't see much. I'm expecting that this is kind of a mystery, so I will go to my room at the inn for now and hope to get some answers tomorrow.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I will say that casting Identify on this does not reveal anything to you. You get the sense that this is Identify is most adept at revealing the secrets of magical items.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, this hand does not. It isn't comprised of the stuff that Identify would help you pick up on. So with that mystery kind of occupying your thoughts as you eat at the inn, there is a when you show up a little while later and come down for dinner, you see there's kind of a line. There is a cauldron on the left wall, a very large, almost vat, almost like tub-sized cauldron that has a it's kind of put into a fireplace on the side of the wall. There's coals underneath it, and you can see a line lined up at the pot. And you notice up above it there is a chalkboard. It says menu. There's one thing on the menu, and it says continual soup. And as you get closer to the pot, you see the walls of the pot are full of, they're just caked with soup leavings. Like there has been soup in this pot for ages. And there are a couple people. There's lines on two sides, approaching it from two sides. You see one of the lines has empty bowls, clean bowls approaching it. That's the line that you get in. The other line has bowls of people who it looks like they've finished their soup. Maybe they have a little bit left in it. And you see the people in the second line, they get up with their leftovers and they dump it in the pot and then give it a big stir, and then people scoop it up. So it's just this eternal cycle of people putting their leftovers back in and everyone pulling it out. So, but when you get a taste of it, it's great. The flavors in it, you can't put a pin on what exactly it's made of, because at this point in time, it's probably made of everything. Just with how long you get the sense it has been in this pot, coming in and out of it. But you eat your continual soup, spend the time kind of pondering this mystery that you have been presented with. And from there, we will jump back in time to Azel?
Yep,
Azel. These words that you have read fill your head a majority of the time. This is no different. And so you set off to search for the western compass from Fengor, whatever that might mean. You have left your small jungle hollow in the country of Atril, right here. You set off from your small hollow in the hollow in the jungle, and you where you've spent most of your life here. You travel across the country of Amora, which is this region here. Set off across Amora, hitching rides on traveling caravans wherever you could, before reaching a town with a boat to help you across the Eldon Strait right here. after crossing the Elden Strait on this boat, you arrive in the city of Westport, where your search for the Western Compass begins. Now that you have reached the country of Fengor, you don't know much about this. This isn't a lot to go on, but you know that you are searching for something in Fengor, and you have arrived. You learn from the folks in Westport that any search for ancient secrets in Fengor should begin in Rubbleton, at the Journey's End. The Journey's End is a sort of library museum. Wow, I don't know why I emphasize those words like that. A library or museum hybrid. I put the emphasis on the ends of those words really strangely. But this library museum, it contains information on expeditions from past researchers. This town is built upon a history of explorers and archaeologists. And the Journey's End is where they kind of keep and store the information, their findings. So they say if you're looking for a strange artifact, that's where you should head. Go to the Journey's End in the city of Rubbleton. So, learning this, you set off. You hitch a ride on a trade caravan that's taking produce and textiles north towards Rubbleton. The journey takes a couple of weeks. You help the caravan and its guards fend off bandits a couple of times, but for the most part, it's a fine journey, and you get to know your traveling companions well, kind of eating with them around a fire every night. There are a few bards traveling with you that tell stories or play music for everyone to kind of dance to and get drunk to on the way. So it's a nice kind of like, community. There's about maybe 10 people traveling in this caravan total. And every night, it's hard not to get to know one another because you're just on the road for long stretches of time and spending nights together. So it's hard not to get to know these people. They are all very friendly, happy to have you aboard because you can help them kind of, fend off any trouble that they might run into. But after a few weeks of journeying like this, you reach Rubbleton late at night, and you part ways with your traveling caravan. Some of them are continuing on northwards, maybe towards Sojourn or other cities along the way. Some of them are here to drop off a few of their stuff at the shops, and so they're not headed in the same direction as you, as you're here late at night, tired from a long journey, looking for a place to spend the night. So you make your way toward the Rubble Rouser Tavern to spend the night here. So you're traveling through the cobble streets. They're illuminated by hanging lanterns that swing gently in the breeze. You're about to reach your hand out to open the door to the Rubble Rouser when it swings open, revealing a small, 3.5-foot tall gnome man stumbling drunkenly out of the bar. He stumbles and he crashes into you and he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you." And he looks up at you and he's got this big, bulbous nose, kind of a bald head, and his skin is kind of like a deep blue of some kind, and he's cold to the touch. This is a deep gnome, a gnome from the Underdark. He's dressed in, he's got a cloak with a hood up. It kind of falls down as he bumps into you. He's wearing kind of a decent looking kind of like leather padding, like the kind of stuff that you would wear under like chainmail or under plate mail. That kind of like leather padding is kind of what he's dressed in. And he bumps into you and he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. I didn't know you were coming in. That's on me." And he just reeks of booze and continual soup.
No problem. Do you need help getting home? It sounds like you had a pretty fun night.
As you're talking to him, he kind of stops and he looks at you, and he just is like staring at you. And he kind of reaches up towards your face, and he says, Do I know you?"
I've never seen you in my life.
"You look unbelievably familiar. I can't place it, but I swear I've seen you before."
I don't know where you would have seen me. I just came from the Zora.
"I've never been there." "You're sure We haven't met.
No, I don't recall meeting you. What was your name?
You can call me Finn.
Finn?
Yes. It's short. Short for short like me. I'm short. It's short for Fintho Baron.
Well, good to meet your acquaintance then. I'm Azel Everwind, and I'm gonna extend a hand out to, like, kind of awkwardly below, like, okay.
He says, he'll reach up and he'll grab it and shake it, and he is ice cold to the touch as he shakes your hand. And he says, you know, he kind of grabs your hand, and as he shakes, his like whole body kind of rocks, and he like about falls over, and you have to kind of like hold him up by the hand. And he says, you know, maybe I will take you up on that offer to walk me home. I'm not sure I could make it myself.
Sure, buddy, come on. I don't know how it would help, but I guess I'd like kind of awkwardly kneel, I guess, and have like my hand like kind of like trying to hold him up.
Yeah, you're kind of bent over, and it's like he's a toddler, you know, walking for the first time. He's got his arms up, and you're standing behind him, holding him by the hands, kind of leading him as he like waddles. A couple times he's like almost topples over, and you have to like pick him up and swing him back onto his feet. But he gives you directions, and for maybe 15 minutes he has you walking in a circle, and each time you're like, I think we've gone this way before. He's like, no, it's my own house, I know how to get there. Until you finally, he says like, turn left here, and you finally decide to turn right because you've turned left 8 times before. And he doesn't seem to notice and just gives you directions, and you finally make it to what he says is his house. You're not 100% certain at this point if this is actually where he lives. But you might be dizzy enough from the walking in circles that you are glad to just have him be somewhere where he'll let you go. And he stumbles up to the door and pushes it open, and he turns back to you and he says, I swear I've seen you before. If you, well, if it's not too much trouble, how would you feel about coming back tomorrow evening for dinner?
Sure.
Once I'm a little more sober, I think this is going to last a little ways into the day, so I think evening might be best.
I think a good night's rest will be just fine for you. I look forward to it.
All right. Yes, this is gonna keep me up all night. I swear I know your face from somewhere.
Well, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for taking care of me.
No problem, then. I'll see you tomorrow.
I didn't catch your name, son.
Oh, Azel. Azel Everwind. We shook hands back there.
Oh, it feels like so long ago. I hardly remember it.
Oh, okay.
You're sure we haven't met before?
Yeah. I don't remember seeing you.
All right. Well, come see me tomorrow if you've got time. I'll put some food on for you, and we'll have dinner.
Sounds good. No, do you happen to know where I could stay? Does that inn have a room available?
Oh, it does. Or I mean, I suppose you could crash here if you want. It's small, and the door comes up about to your chest.
I think I'll just go find a room. I appreciate the offer, Finn.
Oh, well, of course. Good luck, and I'll see you.
You too. Thank you.
He walks in, closes the door, and you like turn around, and you just hear a boom as he like, well, I mean, you assume he is just toppled onto his floor right inside of his house, but.
Okay. And I'm gonna start walking back towards the place, the Rumble Inn.
Yeah, the Rubble Rouser.
The Rubble Rouser. Yeah, that's where I go.
Okay. Yeah, you walk in and there's still a decent amount of people in here. It's probably like 12:30, in the morning, so about midnight. Um, and you walk in. There's a decent number of people in here, maybe 8 people now. And again, you see that same dwarf that Aaron saw with the big beehive hairstyle behind the bar. And there's less people in here now, but again, you kind of got this. You get the same treatment where they kind of look and try not to pay you any mind.
Okay.
And they the bartender will she'll look at you and she'll say, what brings you in so late?
Oh, I apologize. I was just wondering if you had a room available that I could rent. Or
She says, well, no need to apologize. I mean, I get coin from you regardless of the time of night. Yes, I've got a room for you. How long do you plan on staying?
Just for a great question. I'll say 2 nights.
All right. That'll be 8 copper for you.
Okay. And I'm gonna go into my pocket and scrounge around at what I've got, and then just leave it on the bar.
All right. She'll put a key in your hand and she'll say, last one on the left upstairs.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm gonna head up the stairs.
All right. So you make your way upstairs. After a long weeks, almost a couple months of journeying across the continents here, seeing a bed. While these rooms are not very nice, little drafty wood floors, kind of straw beds with little pieces of straw kind of poking up through the mattress, so it's a little tickly, a little itchy as you lay down on it. But regardless of the quality, having an actual bed as opposed to a bed roll on the wood floor of a wagon or the bumpy dirt, this is fantastic after all the traveling that you have done. And you are you spend maybe a little bit of time thinking about Finn and his drunken stupor, but he can only occupy your thoughts for so long before an actual bed to rest in knocks you out and just takes you right to sleep. All right. And once again, we travel back in time to Alondra. How would we say, Benny?
Alondra, yeah.
Alondra, okay. Alondra, you toss and turn in your sleep. Flashes of color, screams of pain, and the stench of horribly mutilated flesh. You can't take it. You've tried sleeping. For days now since it happened, you couldn't bring yourself to... You haven't been able to sleep in what feels like weeks since it happened. Finally, you've had it. You can't take it anymore. You rise and you storm out of your family's manor. You take off running down the steps of the towns of Relis, built almost vertically up a cliffside. You march down the steps, running, sprinting, and you make your way to the docks of the town of Relis. You look around the docks and you find a small one-man fishing vessel bobbing in the waves. Clouds fill the sky and you can tell it's going to rain, but regardless, you have to get away. You don't know where to, but you have to leave this place. Something about being here just won't let you forget. You think maybe some distance might be what you need. So you work hastily to untie the knot, boarding the small fishing vessel, pushing away from the docks. The ocean stands before you, and you take to the waves with fervor. But the storm matches your excitement. The further you get from shore, the brighter the lightning flashes. Thunder booms so loudly that your head spins. The sea clearly has a different vision in mind for your future than you do. Suddenly, your small rowboat is overturned. The water swells around you, filling your vision with a rush of bubbles as you sink. Here in the middle of the night, deep beneath the water, on a night where the sky is obscured with clouds, not even your dark vision can help push away the inky black of the ocean that surrounds you. And that darkness, that blackness, is the last thing you remember. You don't remember falling asleep, but somehow you wake up. You're floating on your back on a gentle, crystal clear sea. Almost like paradise. The water swells around you and you're floating like it's spring break or something, just on your back, relaxing in these, as the gentle current kind of bobs you. And as you float here on your back peacefully, a figure appears above you, about 8.5 feet tall, with sky blue skin and long flowing white hair, his ears like fins peeking from beneath them. He's got no shoes. He's wearing a vest and like an open linen shirt with like a deep V down to his chest. Slacks that kind of flap in the waves. He's got webbed toes and webbed fingers. Obviously an aquatic being of some kind. And he is about 8 feet tall, kind of floating in the air above you. Kind of standing on the water, looking down at you as you float. And he says, he kind of smiles and reveals these bright, shining, pearly white teeth. And he says, "Hello, child. You seem lost."
Who are you?
No, you don't recognize me. Most people do. My name is Torinth.
Torth, as in the other god?
Well, one of them, yes. The god of water and the sea and travel. Those are the domains that I oversee. Now I'm aware that you underwent a slight change in your life recently.
Yes, one could say that.
Well, I realize that in terms of what deities, you might already be spoken for, but I get the sense that you might not be so attached to the previous fixture of your worship after an event like that.
That is correct, yes.
If you need guidance, I'm here. But I understand if you need time. It's a big life decision, and you underwent, well, you know. I don't need to spell it out for you, but at the very least, allow me to guide you to shore. We'll stay clear of Ormos for a while. I'm a god after all. We don't have to live in the same neighborhood back there to chat. I could take you far away like you were trying to get. Still talk just fine.
Yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated, yes.
All right. I'll tell you what. If you're interested, I'll drop you off at a place called Rubbleton. They have a collection of old goodies there. And if you're interested in learning a bit about what it is I do, you're going to want to find an old chest of some kind, a treasure chest that belonged to my grandfather, Flint. There's something in it you might be interested in. I think they have it in some kind of display some building in there, shown it off with a bunch of old rocks. But if you're interested, find that. And no, I'm not going to be any more specific. Being a god comes with so many responsibilities. Being needlessly vague is one of the few ways I get to have my fun.
That's great to hear.
So, I'll take you to Rebelton if you're interested. Check out that old shelf of junk that they have. You'll find something interesting. If you're not interested, do whatever you'd like. You don't owe me anything except your life, so I'm kidding. It's not a big deal.
I don't know about that. Now that you spell it out, yeah, Rebelton sounds good.
All right. Well, hang in there, kid. And again, you don't recall falling asleep. But once again, you wake up, kind of clutching your head, and you sit up. And you are in a bed. In a room that is not your own. You've never seen this room before. You are sitting on top of a reasonably uncomfortable mattress. Poked and scratched by straw beneath you. Compared to the padding that you were used to back home in your estate, this is a pile of garbage. This is hot fucking trash that you are sleeping on, and you are in a room that is the window looks to be closed shut, but there's still the whistle of wind coming in through cracks and a breeze that is chilling your room to the bone. It is so cold, but there is no sort of fireplace or any way to warm yourself, other than the blanket above that you are underneath, that is almost stiff as a board. It's almost like sleeping under a 2x4. And the room itself is bare, just rotted wood, not great. And you look out the window and it's dark, it's night. You're not sure exactly what time, but the moon, glowing purple, is up above in the sky.
Okay. And you said the room was bare?
Yeah. There's a bed. There is a footlocker at the end of it, like a wood chest, to store stuff in, and then there is a small desk over in the corner with no chair in front of it, just a desk. And that's about it. Other than that, there's one window that looks to be sealed shut, but there's still wind kind of creeping underneath it, creating this like really kind of unsettling whistling noise.
Okay.
This place sucks.
Yeah. This is nothing compared to the bed back at home. Alondra will probably head out the door, considering that she has gotten more sleep than she has in the past couple of days, and go down to investigate where exactly she is.
Okay. You find your way down into what looks to be a tavern below the inn that you were sleeping in. And you get the sense that it is like you are in the early hours of the morning, maybe 3 or 4 a.m., because there is no one here. There's a wooden sign, kind of one of those triangle, like wet floor style signs, on top of the bar, and it says, "See you at 8."
Oh, great. Okay, well, Alondra will probably just take a seat at one of the tables, considering she has nothing else to do, and just sit there and take out her playing card set and play cards with herself.
Okay,
until
yeah.
8 a.m.
You set up a little solitaire.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And play by yourself. You watch through the windows of the tavern, the sun slowly begin to rise. And it does, and people begin to kind of trickle down from upstairs. And there's a number of people. Maybe it looks like there were maybe 6 other patrons staying in the inn. Doesn't look like there's a ton of travelers at the moment, so there's not a ton of people who have need of the inn. Looks to be about 6 other patrons sleeping there. And as they come down, they see you and they don't really pay much mind. You're just an early riser. They don't know that you've been sitting there for like 4 hours. But they come down and a number of them beat the barkeep. It's 8 o'clock is kind of late for like a continental breakfast to start being served. So you get the feeling that she definitely values her sleep. But people start to trickle down, and coming down the stairs for breakfast, that includes Hazel and Aaron. So I guess.
Sweet.
Look at that. We can put you all in the same place now. And now that we are, all in the same area, I've got your Hero Forge minis. We should have thanked our friends Hero Forge at the beginning of the show here, because Hero Forge is providing our our tokens here. These are screenshots of the wonderful miniatures that you can make on HeroForge.com in full color, advanced posing. So let your creative, nerdy juices flow with Hero Forge. So retroactive thank you to Hero Forge for providing those for us. But let's go ahead and let's describe, kind of what we see. Let's talk about race and class now, and a physical description. We can kind of see here what you look like, but it's cool to hear it too. So, Easton, we'll start with you. Go ahead and tell us Azel race and class and what we see.
So, Azel is a human monk. He's got a fit frame with long, wispy gray hair that's kind of tied up into a bun. He stands at 6'5". He's got no facial hair. He's got piercing blue eyes. In fact, actually, he got heterochromia. So one eye is like a really light blue, and the other one is more of a white. He has kind of this cream woven scarf around his neck. At the end of the scarf, kind of hangs around kind of towards his belly. He's got a pack that rests at his side, and on the other side is a book that's clipped kind of to his belt. And he's got this array of kind of like different like glass wares and stuff that's along like a sash, I guess is the best way to describe that. He wears loose-fitting legs that are kind of pilled up to his knees, and he's got blue tattoos that kind of flow down his right side, kind of like wind. But yeah, that's Azel.
Okay, right on. Michael, why don't you go next? Tell us about Aaron, race, class, and what he looks like.
So you're looking at, you have a half dwarf, half elf man. He's sitting about 5 feet 5 inches, so a little bit shorter than normal. Not too bad. He's definitely got a dwarven beard. He's got long shoulder length hair. It's kind of tied back a little bit, but he does have those pointed ears. He's got very tan skin. You can see, surprisingly, how he's dressed. His hands look worn. He's got a little bit of scarring. He is wearing some nice robes, and you can kind of see underneath his robes, he has a little bit of like studded armor underneath. And on his side, he has this satchel that is just jam-packed with books and knickknacks and tomes, just completely full that he has. And he's just kind of like holding it on himself, just kind of wary, making sure that it's always there at his side. And he's got these deep blue eyes as well.
Okay, right on. Awesome. We can't see your name. Move over so we can see the name there. And then finally, Jenny. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about Alondra, race, class, and physical description.
Okay. Alondra is a elf paladin. Um, she's around 5'8". Um, what you see her wearing is her um kind of paladin armor. It's streaked in yellow and silver, kind of the aloe vera um colors with some light blue um around the buttons, and she is actually wearing on her right arm a ring that is actually the family ring that all Elveras wear, and she is holding her um, sword, and she is also carrying another rapier, and then a potion, and then a traveling pack. And so her colors are gold, silver, and then a nice little turquoise blue.
Awesome.
Hey,
All right.
hey.
Yeah, so that is you guys are all sitting kind of gathered around for breakfast here in the Rubble Rouser. And breakfast, Aaron, you might say thankfully, is not continual soup.
Thank goodness.
Once the door swings open, and again you see that high beehive hair kind of like wiggle as she kicks the door open. This dwarf woman with these long sideburns that almost connect in the middle. It's almost like an inverted soul patch, like where a soul patch is just right here.
Yes.
She's wearing everything except a soul patch, so she has like the inverse,
Absolutely.
the inverse of a soul patch. She kicks the door open, and she she reaches behind the bar, pulls out a big rock, and she places it in front of the door, and she says, "Breakfast in there." She kind of points back into the kitchen from whence she came.
Sweet.
And then she just sits down at the bar. The couple of the other people, they get up and they walk back in, and it's kind of like your classic kind of continental self-serve breakfast at hotels, where you grab a plate and then walk through and make yourself like Belgian waffles or whatever. She's got like rolls and fruits and eggs, breakfast meats, like there's honeyed ham and bacon. And Aaron, compared to the show of the continual soup from last night, this is more than you expected. It seems like she takes pride in her breakfast more so than she does her dinners.
Getting my 5 silver worth.
Yeah. You get the feeling that maybe, since there's less people to feed here in the mornings, maybe she decides to put in a little bit more effort. But you were not expecting much, and granted, it still isn't much, but it's not continual soup. So
Sweet. As Azel goes in to get his serving, he's just gonna kind of like go to the side and thank the woman. Thank you.
she says, "Oh, it's no problem. Frankly, I'd be a pretty shitty inn if I didn't feed you. So,
Well, it's much appreciated, and then I'll just walk in.
okay, right on. Yes, you all gather, and then you sit down at your separate tables, and you get a good way into your meal, before you hear the sound of bells ringing, in the streets, and the dwarven woman, the barkeep, she as soon as she hears the bells, she says, "Oh, fucking hell." And she comes out from behind the bar and she walks towards the door. And everyone kind of gets to stand up, and she kind of looks back to the three of you still sitting, at your respective tables. And she says, "Well, you heard the ringing, didn't you? Come on, you might want to hear this."
What does the bell usually signify?
Well, they're calling for a meeting in the town square.
All right.
Can we take our breakfast with us?
Just don't drop the plate.
Alrighty.
Yeah, before Azel steps out, he's just gonna shove his cheeks full of food, and like walk out.
It's like gerbil style. You got big puffed cheeks, and they slowly shrink down as you work your way through it as you walk out. But you make your way out, following this dwarven woman who, if she did her hair differently, may have been a little bit harder to follow because she's kind of short. But the beehive gives her an extra like 2.5 feet, so she's easy to spot as she walks, and it kind of wobbles back and forth as she toddles along with her little dwarf legs. She leads you into a square that is kind of packed full of people, and there are about 3 paladins of Stelnos standing kind of up on a podium. You can recognize them. They all have these kind of deep blue tabards over their armor that are dotted with silver sparkles, kind of like stars. And the one in the middle looks to be a high elven woman. She has like long auburn hair that's pulled into a tight like donut style bun. And she looks over to the crowd and she says, "We've lost 2 more children last night. Twins, Jonathan and Elena Farewell." That's a little ironic, isn't it? Farewell. Sorry. It's terrible, I know. But at this point, something needs to be done. Frankly, well, to put it bluntly, there won't be many children left, and once they're gone, who knows what will happen next. What I'm saying is, I would like to put together a task force of sorts to search for these kids, investigate around the town, and find what they may. We've heard the complaints that we are not working to the standards that some people would like us to be. And we would like to respond to those claims by saying, firstly, Stelnos does their best work in the dark of night. Just because you can't see us doing that work doesn't mean it's not being done. And secondly, this is us stepping up and upping the ante. We would, obviously this is too much for us to handle on our own, or it would have been handled. We need your help now. So if you would like to volunteer for this task force, should you be successful, we will compensate the task force with gold for a successful investigation, successful retrieval of these children. There will be monetary compensation, but should this task force be something that interests you, please stick around in the square, and we will speak to you. And should you not be interested, well, feel free to be on your way. And people start to grumble. Few of them turn away. A few of them, they call out and they say, "Bullshit, you've been working in the night without finding a shred of evidence," and then they turn. Others say, "Well, at least they're trying, at least they're putting together, at least they're delegating the task to someone else," some say. But regardless, people begin to turn away. A couple of them stick around. Where do you guys go? What do each of you do?
Azel's gonna stay.
Okay.
The allure of having some gold in his own name is probably enough to be like, okay, sounds good. But
Okay.
It's more so for like, it'll be a fun challenge.
Okay, right on.
Alondra will stay. She is new to this area and thinks that this challenge will give her a little bit more information or give her the ability to get the information of what Torrance sent her to do, which was look for that chest. So she'll stay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, wait. Easton, were you saying something?
so Azel's actually gonna go up to the guard or the paladin and ask, like, what time do we expect to be back? And what time are we embarking?
Oh, well, we still have a lot of investigating to do here in town, as the townfolk have been all too keen to point out. We have not a shred of evidence from within the town yet, so I don't think there will be any embarking for a few days at the very least.
Okay, well, never mind then.
Aaron will like start walking away, and then he'll ruffle through his pouch and satchel, and dismally find there is not much gold, and just kind of sigh to himself, and then turn back around and walk up.
Okay, awesome. So this leaves you, the three of you, standing in front of three paladins of Stelnos, and standing in the crowd with you, it looks like two other people have stayed. One of them is a halfling man with a goatee that's pretty bushy, and a handlebar mustache and like dreads pulled back into a ponytail. And the other is a human woman with kind of a pleated braid down her back of dark, kind of deep black hair. And these just look to be average citizens. They could be farmers, they could be merchants. But there is a stark difference from the three of you adventurers and the three paladins up top. These just look to be average Joe citizens, and only two of the citizens stayed behind. Everyone else kind of departed, including the dwarven barkeep with the beehive hair. She has also left. So the high elf that was kind of speaking for the three paladins from up on the stage, she kind of leaps down off the stage to be level with you guys. And her other two compatriots, they make their way down the steps and circle around in front of the stage here, and they, the three of them look out at you, kind of taking in the lot of the five of you that are gathered here. And the high elven paladin speaks again, and she says, well, honestly, we expected more than five of you. And to be honest, we didn't expect a majority of the group to be strangers from out of town. But regardless, we're glad to have you here. And, well, I suppose we'll start by telling you what we know. And that is where we will end this episode of Dungeon Stories. So we will pick up again next week, right where we left off, kind of learning a little bit more about the situation here. But everyone, I want to say thank you so much for coming to Season 2 of Dungeon Stories. We're so happy to be doing this again. This is... we've been talking about bringing Dungeon Stories back for a while, and just with the way that Season 1 had to end because of COVID, it just kind of threw all of our plans for a loop. No one could have expected how that was going to turn out. But we are so happy to be able to use Roll20 to continue a new game and to bring more D&D under the Dungeon Stories banner. We're so happy. I'm so glad that you three, my wonderful friends, could be here to be my cast for Dungeon Story Season 2. I am so happy to be playing with you guys again, even if it is through a computer screen with technical difficulties. as you know, evidenced by the chat over here on the right. But
It is what it is.
we're working through it. Any technical difficulties that occurred during the game, I'll do my best to edit out to make it bearable for those watching. I'll do my best to catch those in post. But I just want to thank you guys so much for being here to play with me. I want to thank everyone who's come back for season 2 to listen. It means a lot, and to watch on the internet. That is exciting. It's something that we always talked about during season 1 and never put into action. We had all these plans, and then of course we had to break off because of the pandemic. So those plans never got to come into fruition. But now we can finally, go forth with that dream of making it onto a visual medium as well. So that's really exciting for us. Anything any of you guys want to say as we sign off here?
I want to say thank you as well for opening the opportunity up. I'm excited to explore more and kick some butt.
Same.
Yeah.
So excited.
All right,
Yeah,
great.
me too.
Perfect. Well, thank you all again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Dungeon Stories. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.